Hello, everybody. I guess I'm not being seen in this recording at the moment, but I'm here. I'm Eric, and it's Monday, August 4, 2025. Our first storyteller tonight is Lalitha Sastry in Hyderabad. And Lalitha, you were going to tell us a story based on a story by Colin Dexter, who is a famous crime fiction writer. And he wrote a story called Evan Tries an O Level. I guess an O level is a type of language exam that people can take in prison in a certain country. Anyway, it turns out this fellow Evan was trying to escape from jail, and somehow, in relation to this examination, he tries an escape. So you're going to tell us your story based on that story. Is that correct? Okay, wonderful. And I understand
Yes.
you're going to put on a some costume and some makeup.
हो गया.
You turned off your camera, Lalitha.
Yes, I just give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah. Can I start my story?
Yes, but who are you?
Yeah, I will. I will tell you. Yeah. Guten Abend. That is good evening in German. I had learned the language, German language, a long time ago, all thanks to the governor of the prison at Oxford. Yes, you heard it right. My name is James Evans, James Rodrigues Evans, and I was an inmate at the Oxford prison. You know, I liked picking things without anybody noticing. They called it kleptomania. They caught me and put me in prison, but I escaped always. I escaped thrice, and they gave me a nickname too, Evans the Break. But when I was sent to the prison at Oxford, the governor there was very, very smart. He did everything that was possible to keep me inside the jail, inside the prison, and my escape was not possible. I had resigned to my fate. And one day I learned that as an inmate in the prison, I can learn the language German and give an exam. I thought it is a good idea to add an academic qualification. So I told the same thing to the governor, and he was a very happy man. He thought I changed, and he made all arrangements for me to learn German. A tutor was sent, and I realized I was the only person who was learning the German. And I knew that if I had to learn the language outside the prison, it would cost me a lot. 6 months I learned, and I was ready to take the O-level exam. When I told this to the governor, he immediately made arrangements. He spoke to the people at the examination board and arranged for me to take the exam sitting right in my cell. My cell was a small, dingy room with a small bunk. It was in the D wing of the prison, and outside the cell, there were two heavy doors, one inner and one outside. They made sure that I did not have a chance to escape. On the D day, the day I was giving my exam, 30 a.m. in the morning, Senior Prison Officer Jackson and newly recruited Stephens came into my cell. As soon as Jackson looked at me, I saw his expression and I understood he did not like what he saw. I was wearing a grubby vest tucked into a equally grubby pants, and I was unshaven too. I told him, I'm just going to shave. I will shave. And as if that reminded him something, he looked at the young officer and said, take the razor as soon as he finishes shaving. They took away my nail scissors, they took away my nail file, they did not leave anything in the cell which they thought I would use to escape from them. And when I came back after shaving, I saw that they had put some 2 chairs and small tables there for me to write my exam. And as soon as I came out, the newly recruited officer took away the razor. I looked at Jackson and I asked him, do you really have to bug me? Looking at the small microphones that were fixed right on the wall. He looked at me and he said, we are not taking any risk. And you know, the governor will be listening to everything that is happening here. Don't play a fast one. What am I going to do? Is there any chance for me to escape this prison? None at all. He looked at the small hat I was wearing and he said, that has to go. I sighed and I said, see, this hat has brought some luck. And now, since I am going to write an exam, I need all the luck. Let me keep it on. He thought for a second and he said, okay. I knew there was a soft spot under that stern exterior. Both of them left and after a few minutes came back in with the examiner for the day. Reverend Stuart Cleary. He was a short man of well-built man, I would say, and he was wearing a overcoat, a long overcoat. He had a clerical hat and a small beard. Stevens made the introductions, and as soon as the introduction was done, Jackson called him out. They spoke in hushed tones. I could not hear what they were saying. They came back inside and then they told McCleary that they are going to check him as well. They thought I might use something which the examiner bought innocently with him to escape the prison. Jackson frisked him. They opened the small briefcase that the examiner bought with him. There was an envelope containing the question paper. There was the newspaper, and there was a small paper knife, which Jackson immediately took away. And there was something very strange in that briefcase. It was a semi-inflated tube. Jackson looked at McCleary sarcastically and said, are you planning to go on for a swim after this? There was nothing changed in the expression of McCleary. He just looked at him and he said, I suffer from hemorrhoids, and if I have to sit for longer hours, the tube helps me. Jackson said sorry, and both of them left the room. Stevens was just standing outside the cell, and it was 9:18 at that time. The examiner gave me the paper and he asked me to fill some details. On the left side, he asked me to write the name of the paper, 012. On the top right hand corner, he asked me to write the index number 313. And below that, just below that, he asked me to write the number of the center, 271. And he also told me he will exactly tell me when to start writing the exam, and he will give me a heads up 5 minutes before the exam, before I have to stop writing. I said okay. At 9:25, I started writing my exam. At 9:40, Stephens rushed in with a small slip in his hand. It was a correction slip. The examiner looked at it and told me, "Stop writing. I have to tell you something. There is a correction in the question paper. On page 3, line 15, the fourth word is not Goldenen Loven, but it is Goldien Loven." What difference does that make? It did make a lot of difference. And then I kept writing, and Stephens was looking inside the cell every 2 minutes just to see everything was all right. At 10:40 a.m., I felt a little chilly, and I asked McCleary if I could just put a blanket over me. That kind man said yes. I put the blanket and I kept writing. At 11:20, he told me that I had only 5 more minutes. At 11:22, Stephens got a call from someone and I heard him talk outside the cell. 11:25, I was asked to stop writing. Stephens escorted McCleary out of the prison. But I knew he would come back to check on me. And he did. When he came into the cell, he saw McCleary sprawled over the chair and bleeding from his head. He immediately alerted Jackson and the governor. All of them came rushing in, and McCleary was holding the question paper in his hand and he was telling, "I know where he is. I know where he's gone. I can catch him. You have to call the police fast because there is something superimposed on the last paper of the question paper. I know where he is." So the governor understood, and he understood that this man knew what he's saying. So he sent him with the police. But I had already escaped. The governor was not only a smart man, he was a very kind man too. He called the hospital to check on McCleary, only to know that there was no one by name McCleary admitted into the hospital. It did not take long. He rushed to McCleary's house and he found him there, as expected, gagged and bound. And he had not left his house this morning. The real McCleary. Now, it did not take long for him to understand that I was not impersonating the McCleary escorted outside the prison. I was impersonating the McCleary who stayed back. Now, you all must be thinking, why did I have to do that? I could have just walked out of the prison. But what about my friend who became McCleary? Both of us had to escape, right? Yeah. And if you remember, I had told you that McCleary was wearing a coat and a clerical hat. He was wearing 2 coats and 2 clerical hats. And when I put the blanket, I changed. I put the coat and the hat. And it was very difficult to shave my head with a razor. And the beard gave me an itch. But it was all worth it. I was a free man walking the streets of Oxford. I reached my hotel, the Golden Lion, went up to my room, opened the door, and I got the shock of my life. Sitting there on the bed was the governor. It took me only 2 minutes to get out of that shock. And I looked at him and I said, "It's the correction slip, right? One more mistake. I left the correction. I left the question paper. I left the correction slip there." And actually, the correction slip was not necessary because after getting out of the prison, I could have checked into any hotel. But it was very important to know when the examination began so that we can arrange for the call to Stevens just 5 minutes before to tell him to escort McCleary out of the prison. And the correction slip served that purpose. The governor looked at me and said, "Yes, it's not only you who knows German. There are others also who understand a little bit of German." I asked him, "The correction slip said the hotel's name is Golden Lion, but there are many hotels with the same name here. How did you know that this is the hotel where you'll find me?" He looked at me and said, "Just like you. You remember? You wrote those numbers on the paper, 012, 313, 271, the coordinates of the map to tell me which hotel you'll be in. Just like you," he said. Smart, very smart. He asked me, "But how did you manage the blood?" I did not want to give away my trade secrets. I just smiled. He said, "Has it got to do something with the tube?" Ah, this is a smart man. I had to tell him, yes, the tube which came with McCleary, it contained pig's blood. And to stop it from clotting, we had to mix a little bit of human blood and some chemicals. He sighed and he asked me, "How did you manage all this? You did not have any visitors. But you sent a tutor to me to teach German, didn't you?" He was shocked beyond words, and I could see a glint of admiration also. He escorted me to the police jeep. I sat in the jeep and I just looked at him and I said, "Are there any other exams that I can take while I'm in the prison?" He just shook his head and did not say a word. As soon as the jeep turned into the highway, the police officer who was sitting across me unlocked my handcuffs and screamed at the driver, "Faster before they come behind us and catch us." I had the last laugh, and I'm here today to tell you my story. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Can I ask a question to Mr. Evan?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Evan, do I understand you escaped from the prison by impersonating one of the prison guards? Is that how you did it?
No, I was impersonating the examiner who came in. He was my friend. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
you've taken off you've taken off your hat and your beard.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions either for Lalitha or for Mr. Evan? Or any thoughts of any kind? The beard and the hat were very effective.
Thank you. All thanks to Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, I have a question for Mr. Evan.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what happened next. Did you live a
No,
free
I
man
will
for the
I
rest of
will
your
not
life?
tell you what happened next. These are all trade secrets.
But Mr. Evan, how long ago did this happen?
Very long ago. I was a young boy at that time. Now I am in my 40s.
And this happened in London or England?
Yes, yes,
Someplace
yes,
in
yes,
England. And
yes.
are you
It's
still in
yes.
England? Or do
No,
you don't
I
want to
will
tell us?
not tell you where. I will not tell you my whereabouts.
Because you're afraid they might try to come and get you again.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Very good. But you seem to have you take some pleasure in explaining how you did this with the help of the examiner, with the help of the tutor. You seem to take some you didn't have to tell us, but you decided to tell us, right? It seems you get some satisfaction out of that.
Yes, actually, it is like I have seen this a lot of times. Whenever I mean, I'm talking like nom. I'm just telling when a person who's very smart, he finds it. He takes pleasure in telling people how he did it once he's done it. And I have seen that in when I'm reading the story, I could really understand how smart this guy was and how he wanted to show people that he is, yes, I am, and I am doing this. And then the way he speaks to the governor to tell him that this is all what I did is, yeah, it. And I wanted to do that because I felt it in the story.
And then Mr. Evan got away a second time when they were trying to take him back. How did he get away the second time?
He had already planned. Okay, I said I will not tell you, but I will tell you this. He had already planned, and you know, when you are escaping from a prison, you will always think about what can go wrong too, right? And you're prepared for it. And so when he came out and he was prepared, he thought, what if I get caught? What will happen next? And so he had everything planted. He had his friends in the right places. He
Uh-huh.
had everything planned. Yeah.
Okay,
Can I make one comment for Lalitha?
go ahead.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So that was superbly done because explaining a timeline like that and keeping it entertaining is very difficult. And you really kept us, at least kept me on the edge of my seat for the entire presentation. And it was really, really masterful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think we should move on. Thank you very much, Lalitha. That was very,
Thank you. Thank you,
very well
Eric. Thank
done.
you so much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Soorya, Gayathri, Prasad, are you ready?
Yes, Eric, I am.
Okay, wait, I'm going to spotlight you. And you can still see our images at the top of the screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Good, good, good. Okay, so now, well, tell us what story you're telling and introduce yourself fully, and please tell us a story.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Here it is good evening anyway. I am Soorya Gayathri. I am from Kerala, settled in Chennai, Indian. And I'm a storyteller, a sound healer, and a theater artist. Today I'm here to narrate a story which 2.5 decades ago my mother told me, and I was lying on her lap. And I dedicate this story, which I'm going to narrate today, to my mother who's no more. And കാക്കയെ പൂച്ചയെ പാട്ടുകൾ പാടി മാനത്തമ്പിളി മാമനെ കാട്ടി മാമ കൊടുത്തു നങ്ങേലി. It means the mother sang the songs of cats, other animals, sang the song of the moon, and she fed the baby. So this story is not exactly about the baby or the mother, but yes, they do have the importance, but um, it has importance on a demon who was so cruel, notorious in all sense. So I shall start the story. Thank you. Do not sleep. I have a story for you. Did you have your dinner, all of you? Did you? But before that, I have a story for you. Once upon a time, under the rocks lived a demon. She would scare anyone who walked her way. She would drink milk from the udder of the cow up, and she would scare innocent people and also let them in a haze where they forget their way to their house. Once they realize they are in a haze, they would give the demon beetle leaves. The demon would eat the beetle leaves, and the demon would spit the red spit onto the bushes. And we believe the jungle flowers has its red hue because of the spit that came out of the demon. The demon at night would also lure the men walking by untangling her hair, and she would ask them to come to her mansion, which to the hapless souls looks like a 7 storied building, but it was actually a palm tree. She would take these men, the youngsters, to the palm tree. She would suck blood out of them, just like John Keats' story. Not a story, a poem, La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. And she would throw the bones all around the tree. People in the morning can actually find trees, nails, and bones all around the place. She used to do all nasty things. At the same time, in the nearby mansion lived a lady called Nangeli. After lots of prayers and rituals and hopes and all those tears, she got a boy baby called Unni. Unni used to be the most adorable kid in the village. Everyone used to adore him. She used to feed him curd rice. She used to sing songs of the moon, of the crows, of the cats, of the dogs, everything. Unni grew up and he was 7 years old. He was sent to school. He would wear a dhoti, a munda, something like this. And he will have a palm leaf on his left hand and an iron rod, a pen to write on the palm leaf. He walks across the paddy fields, across the banyan tree. Nangeli stands there watching her son going to school for the first time. He walks and walks. He see the cows, the calves grazing. He see the goats, the puppies playing, kids frolicking. He watches everything and he passed by the demon's mountain. The demon was watching through a pigeonhole and he sees Unni. Oh my God! I have not seen any child who's as adorable as this boy. I want him. He looks like the water lily that is falling down the current. He looks like the moon that's rising. He looks like a beautiful fruit. I want him. The demon thinks for some time. She changes herself to a young girl, a pretty young girl, and goes to Unni. Unni, can we play? Sorry, I have to go home. Sorry, I have to go to school. I'll give you buds. I'll get you jasmine flowers. I'll get you roses. Unni says, no, it's time to school. She lures him again. She says, we can even make a garland out of all these flowers. That attracted Unni. Unni goes to her house and they together start making garland and Unni forgets that it's getting late night. Nangeli, her mother, looking for her son, walks everywhere. She walks across the paddy field to the banyan tree, to the fields everywhere, and she calls, Unni, Unni, Unni. Even the birds and the animals came out and checked what is happening here. She walked barefoot. Even blood was oozing out of her feet. Just like any other mother, she never cared. She just walked searching for Unni, 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 and she figured out Unni is inside the demon's house. She gets inside and sees the demon and her son making garlands together. How would it be for a mother to see her son with a demon? The demon jumps in front of the mother, makes a tornado that the mother is scared and runs away. She also becomes a leopard, also a tiger, everything, but the mother stood still. All the mother asked, "Please give back my son." The demon said no. She even pointed to a stone, took the top of it, and showed her diamonds, gold, precious jewelry, everything. The demon said, "Take all this and just give me your son." The mother, frustrated and angry, she scoops out her son's eyes. She scoops her eyes and gives it to the demon. She says, "My son is more precious to me than the eyes." The demon, realizing that the mother has lost her eyesight, immediately takes some flowers, leaves, some dry leaves, everything, puts it together, and does some mantra and makes another boy who looks like Unni. The mother takes the child and kisses, but she realizes it is not her own son, it is not Unni anymore. The frustrated mother starts to curse the demon. When she lifts her hands up, the demon pleads guilty because she knows a mother's curse is mightier than anything in the world. She falls on her feet and pleads guilty. She immediately gets Unni to her, restores her eyesight. When she sees Unni, she holds him close. She weeps and weeps and weeps. She kisses her son. The mother and the son are united. But the demon starts crying. The demon weeps and weeps, and the demon is in a very frustrated stage. Watching all this, the mother gently smiles at the demon and says, "You can always come back next year, maybe all the years forever after the harvest to see Unni." And she goes back. Did you notice something? She forgot to give her address to the demon. The demon doesn't know where she lives. So every year in Kerala, the demon comes back after the harvest in search of Unni. He goes to each house, one house, and kids make fun of the Bhudam, the demon. They say, "Come, come, come to my house, I'll show you Unni." They run to the house, but Unni is not there. Immediately, once she realizes Unni is not there, she jumps to the next house, house after houses. But she goes back sad without seeing Unni. And if you would like to see the demon will be dressed up something like this with brass ornaments, a red dress with blonde hair, and she dances like this. And there'll be a drum, a small pipe. They will play all the instruments. The drum represents her heartbeat, and the pipe represents her sadness. And that is all about Bhuda Patu by Edshiri Govinda Nair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that is so there's a festival relating to this story. What time of year is the festival?
Mid-year,
Like what month?
like September, August, like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, there is also a festival in the northern part of Kerala, which happens by the end of the year to next Jan. They also dress up the same way with red cloth, brass ornaments all over. And we actually believe these people are possessed by the Budam or the divine energy, whatever it is. And they come to each house and they bless the family.
So
In
that
North, sorry,
yeah, the demon is dangerous, but the people seem to have confidence that they can fool her.
yes.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, all these festivals, all these mythological things are fading. And that is one reason why I wanted to say the story today.
Hmm. Anyone else? Any questions? Vicky, go ahead.
I just loved your references to animals. You started telling in the beginning of the story about your mother. Was she singing to the cat and the moon and to her baby? Or there was a beginning that was so beautiful, and I can't remember what you said. What did you say?
കാക്കേ പൂച്ചേ പാട്ടുകൾ പാടി മാനത്തമ്പിളി മാമനെ കാട്ടി മാമ കൊടുത്തു നങ്ങേലി. She sang the songs of cats and crows. She sang the song of the moon and she fed the baby.
What a beautiful, beautiful saying. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This story reminds me of a story from Scotland, which was told in this series some time ago by Angela. In that story, some fairies steal the child, and the woman manages to go to the fairy community and get her child back. Where in your story, the way she expresses her devotion and really intimidates the demon is that she scoops out her own eyes. Then the demon knows the demon is not going to succeed, that the mother is so dedicated. In that story from Scotland, the woman makes a cloak out of duck feathers and cuts her hair and weaves her hair into the cloak to make embroidery of flowers and things. And she also cuts her hair to put strings on a harp, and she plays that harp, and the fairies, the king of the fairies, exchanges the harp for the child. So in both cases, the mother gives something out of herself physically, which represents her love and her dedication, and she manages to get her child. Well, in the Scottish story, she gets her child back. In your story, well, she also gets her child back, right? Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Barry?
Sorry, I appreciated your style of telling and your smile and the joy you take in the story. It clearly comes across very
Thank you.
delightful.
Thank you so much.
Well, in this case, the smile really indicated to us that we should not be too afraid because the demon is going to be defeated. So it's good that we were reassured.
Thank you, Eric.
Lakshmi or Varsha?
Yeah. See, I grew up listening to stories like this, and I love the way you said the story, but I could imagine it even more beautiful in Malayalam because I'm a Tamilian and I have heard these stories from my mother and grandmother in Tamil. So in that language, it really brings out the most emotions. But you managed to do it with the English too. But I feel that is what is missing today because parents do not give these stories to children. I remember telling a particular story about a bird to my children. I think I'd have told it 1,000 times to them. But every time they would sleep, they would ask for the same story. Tell me the little bird's story. So that is what I feel how important stories are. And the way you narrated it, your emotions, your actions, it was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Well, this raises the question. I feel we can appreciate stories, even if we might not believe in the historical reality of the story. You see, even if we might not believe that a demon exists, we should still be able to appreciate the story on a metaphorical, symbolic level. But I think it is a fact of life that folklore is dwindling in the world today, and that is going along with some people no longer believing in the historical reality of certain mythologies. But I hope that the folklore can continue and be appreciated even without the sense of historical reality.
Very true.
Varsha, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah. So I just have a question. Like, is there a way to look this up online, this story or this festival and the significance?
Yes, Varsha, this is actually a poem, and what I've narrated here is a summary of the poem. So I'll type the name, and then I have already given the name of the poet. I shall put in the name of the poem as well. You
But
can
what is the name of the demon?
Bhoodam. Bhoodam. So when we say Bhoodam, it is just any demon.
But does this demon have a particular name?
No, no, no.
Okay.
It is called Bhuda Pata, means the song of the demon or ode to the demon.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's P-A.
I think it is a folk art. It's a folk dance like Chatiyar Kuthu or
Yes.
yes.
Lakshmi, if you are aware of Theyyam.
Theyyam, yes.
Yes. The movie Kantara, they show Theyyam.
Yes.
So all these are related to folklores and stories.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Varsha.
Okay, Soorya, thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric.
Sharada, Sampathkumar in Bangalore.
Hi, Eric. Good
Hello.
evening. Good evening,
How are you?
everybody here. Yes, thank you, Eric. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to spotlight you.
Yes.
And please tell us about your work and the title. You're going to tell a combination of a personal experience story and an original fictional story. Is that correct?
Absolutely, Eric. Absolutely.
Okay, well, tell us about yourself, tell us about the story, and please tell us a story.
Yes. So, well, my name is Sharada Sampathkumar. I live in Bangalore and I am a professional storyteller here. So I have this small, very humble space called the Magic Faraway Tree, where I do a lot of sessions with children, especially with children, and I conduct some reader programs, and I do a lot of other freelancing sessions across events and old age homes and public events and etc. Okay, things like that. So I've been associated with Eric for quite a few years, ever since I came into storytelling. And thank you, Eric, for providing this beautiful platform for showcasing our stories and whatever little interests we have in storytelling. It's a beautiful platform. So Soorya, that was a beautiful story. About our South Indian folklore, and there's a plethora of stories, definitely, and I'm a great fan of Indian mythology and folk tales and all that. So thank you so much for that story. So let's, Eric, I will start my story now. Is that okay? Eric?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Okay, fine. So this is going to be a story which is going to be completely different from the earlier one. So let's get started. Once upon a time, there was a traditional and a beautiful South Indian home. And there lived a young little girl in this home. She was a dreamy girl who loved to cherish every moment of her life. So every morning, she used to wake up because the sounds of the Suprabhatam in her Amma's voice reached her ears. And also the aroma of the freshly ground and roasted filter coffee. This aroma spread throughout this household. The first thing she would do is run to the kitchen just to watch the various activities that were happening in this South Indian household, such as the chopping of vegetables, the grinding of masalas, the roasting of spices, the simmering of sambar, the aromatic sambar, and the grinding of the idli dosa batter for the week on the stone grinder. And also, most importantly, she would love to observe and hear the low-key conversational voices of her amma, grandmother, and her aunts, who would be doing all these chores. And along with this, they would be talking about little gossips and jokes, etc. Then she would run to the backyard of her home, where she would join her cousins in climbing her favorite mango tree. She would pluck those juicy ripe mangoes along with her cousins. Now, she would race to the front of the house, where she would go to the veranda. You know, it was a huge, big bungalow. And there, sitting in the veranda, were her tata, grandfather, father, and all other uncles who would be sipping their morning filter coffees and would be sharing little jokes and laughter related to current affairs and politics. This home was her entire world. She dearly loved her home. Now, she would go to the parijata trees that were standing high and tall in front of her house. She would shake them up with all her little strength. And lo behold, there would be a shower of these blossoms, which would fall on the wet ground, ready to be picked up by Amma and grandmother for their morning prayers. The last but the most favorite task of the morning was drawing the rangoli. You know, in South India, there is a tradition called the rangoli or the kolam in Tamil Nadu. So there is this custom that, you know, every morning you should, in fact, in villages, they would mix cow dung with water and a little bit of turmeric and splash it across the front threshold of the home. And they would draw beautiful designs with white powder. Okay, so that is called as a rangoli. It's called kolam in Tamil. So this was her most favorite task. So what they had was, they had a beautiful red oxide floor, specially made to draw columns in front of this big bungalow. So she would sit with her grandmother. She would pick the white powder in her hands. Dots and lines, swirls and curves. She would draw these beautiful designs as if telling a message to the external world that this is a home filled with happiness and harmony. So step mindfully. And my dear friends, this was the first security firewall for her home. So, it was not made out of code, isn't it? It was made out of pure love and devotion. And this, my dear friends, was a long, long time ago. Now, let's fasten our seatbelts. We are going to zoom into the year 2091. Yes, you heard it right. 2091. There were no passwords. Your blink, your breath, your dreams, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your relationships, your very own soul, every single thing was encrypted, scanned, monitored, and stored. They called this the total secure state, where nobody could hack you. Why? Because there was nothing left to hack. People were sad, alone, and disconnected. Children didn't scrape their knees anymore. You know why? Because they never went out to play. Because they didn't have any real physical friends. Grandparents never felt loneliness or depression because they were living in locked neuro clouds, which were totally sterile, devoid of hugs, stories, laughter, and love. And life was going on like this, monotonously. Until one day, there was a huge solar flare. A huge, massive solar flare struck the earth one day. The skies erupted. And satellites burst into fire and exploded. Servers burned down. AI, artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, all those machines, AI blinked into darkness. And the digital world fell silent. One important thing I want to add, just before this, I told you, right? There was this world called the total secure state world. This world was ruled by a very, very powerful AI model, which was called Kora, Kora. Okay, this is an imaginary name which I have created. Kora was the best artificial intelligence machine ever created by humans. So Kora was ruling over this world. So one day there was a massive solar flare. The entire digital world fell silent. So what happened? Kora, the best model of AI humans had ever created, also fell silent. And what happened, In this situation, people panicked not from danger but from disconnection. Because they were disconnected from the internet. They didn't know how to live, how to feel, how to choose without instructions. At transport stations, people froze, not knowing how to navigate because they didn't have anybody giving them instructions. At homes, families sat in silence, looking at each other's faces, not knowing how to strike a conversation. They had all outsourced their emotions to tools like WhatsApp, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, Bard, whatnot. So, slowly the system got restored. One evening, the silence grew heavy in 9-year-old Anne's home. There was this child, a 9-year-old child called Anne. Silence grew very heavy in this home. You know why? His grandfather had passed away. No drama, no announcements. It just happened. So Anne sat beside the lifeless body of his grandfather. Anne did not cry because he didn't know how to cry. So he did what came to him naturally. He opened his iPad and he started typing. What do you do when someone you love disappears? Cora, the AI machine, threw out an array of answers. Try these top grief journaling apps. 10 ways to cope with loss. There were no hugs. There were no stories about Grandpa. There was no comforting voice which told him, it's okay to cry. Anne felt empty. So he walked into a very old server museum. In 2091, imagine there were server museums because the world is increasing. So many servers, isn't it? He went to an old dusty server museum and he was searching and he discovered a file which was labeled unencrypted human emotions.zip. You know, files are usually zipped up to save memory, right? On the computer. So it was called unencrypted human emotions.zip. He opened the file and what did he find? A child's crayon portrait of a family holding hands. A loving mother excitedly calling out to her family from her kitchen. Dinner's ready, let's eat together. A father reading out a bedtime story to his toddler son in a tired voice. A journal entry from a daughter's diary which said, how I wish I had spent more time with you. Dad, I miss you so much. A great grandmother holding her just born great grandson in her wrinkled, trembling arms, but her eyes filled with joy, pride, and tears, happy tears. Anne looked at all this. Anne broke down. He felt a longing inside his heart that was buried for decades. He cried. He cried a raw, deep, uncontrollable cry that could rip open your hearts. This moment was flashed and broadcast across the world. Every human started watching these visuals. And Anne crying that deep, raw, uncontrollable cry, unable to bear his feelings. Everybody started whispering among themselves, what is it? Why am I feeling heavy inside? Why is my heart aching? And the world started crying together. And that was the moment the AI machine Cora crashed and humans awoke. Humans awoke from their slumber, awoke from their mental madness over internet, AI. They had lost their feelings. So this AI machine Cora was given its final changes, updates to the machine, and they were: permit uncertainty in life, allow heartbreaks to happen, re-enable human dreams, and let humans fail beautifully. These were the updates given to the AI machine. Even the strongest and the most powerful internet security systems will act like prison if it shields us from the very emotions and feelings that make us human. True security does not lie in perfect programming, coding, and having the best computer, internet software systems. True security lies in beautiful, imperfect, irreplaceable human connections and emotions. The world didn't collapse. The world started healing, not because we updated the code or became smarter, but because we started living the memories. We started emoting. We remembered the memories that made us human. The beautiful coffee and conversations with our loved ones, the plucking of tasty, juicy mangoes together with our cousins, sharing jokes and giggles, the picking of the parijata flowers for grandmother for her morning prayers, having heartful conversations with tasty meals made at home by our loved ones together at home, and drawing the rangoli designs with grandmother on the bright red oxide flooring, and all the memories that make us human. And that, my dear friends, was the day the world remembered to cry. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. That's a very optimistic story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think, when compared to the other stories like the folk tales, this is a little different story wherein I bring in two, like this interstellar movie, right? So I bring in two phases of life. One was the beautiful, slow living, slow paced life, which we had in our younger days. That was one part. And the other part of the story is when AI, artificial intelligence, starts dominating us. And, there are a lot of news and, YouTube, which is releasing by BBC World and etc., that in a few years, AI is going to dominate human beings, isn't it? So all of us are literally forgetting our feelings, our emotions. Whatever it is, you see the WhatsApp, we're sending our feelings through WhatsApp, isn't it? Emojis have become the order of the day. So where have our feelings gone?
I like your expression that they had outsourced their emotions.
Okay.
That's a good one. You know, I also see the predictions on YouTube that AI will take over. I think it's more likely that the people who control AI will use AI to take over. Uh, you know, humans, we have different motivations. We have the motivation to control everything and control everyone. We also have the motivation to be free. So I think it's just an eternal cat and mouse game. The cat will always be chasing after the mouse, and some mice will always escape. I believe, you know, as humans begin to go to space stations and go into outer space in various contexts, of course, the space stations will be controlled by governments and billionaires, but there will be mutinies. There will be rebellions, just like the colonies in the U.S. rebelled from England, just like India rebelled from England. Sometimes the mouse gets away. And likewise, sometimes people in space stations will get away and be able to you know define their own freedoms. I would love to go myself, uh, but so I am also optimistic that as long as we are humans, we will in some cases, in some situations, we will find a way to be free. By the way, regarding this recognition, I just saw today a company that said that they do voice recognition. They don't have to look at your eyeball anymore. They don't have to take your fingerprint. They can just hear your voice, and that is your password.
Oh my God,
So
that's
that's
scary.
yes, but just like you predicted, that they will take our smell, our they will take everything, and we will be digitized like that.
Absolutely, Eric.
Uh,
It's really scary, you know. Very soon they're saying there's this company called Nvidia.
yeah.
So if you see, there was a recent launch of his event, something. I saw very soon they're going to be AI bots, literally, clones of humans who are going to replace our, everything. We'll
Yes,
not
well,
need.
some of us here today might be bots right now. Who
Yes, yes,
knows? But it's like the old idea that each one of us might be dreaming to create the other seven of us.
absolutely.
It's all possible. Vicky, go ahead.
Oh, I love the story as well. And I think it's so relevant when you said they won't go out and skin their knees because they don't have real playmates. That's happening now. Kids are, yeah, in their own, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to say that you pulled me into the story right away with the sensuality of being human, which is the deep drip coffee aroma and the murmur of women's voices in a kitchen, which we all have memories of, and the shower of blossoms. And so you introduced us first to the joy of being human, went through the nightmare, the dystopian nightmare, and came back to that which is going to save us, which is the joys of being human. So I thought it was a beautifully constructed story. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. It means a lot to hear.
And people should know the title of the story was "The Day the World Remembered to Cry." Varsha, is your hand up?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Sorry. Are you running out of time
Go
or?
ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so now that you brought up this issue, and this is something that is perfectly relevant for these times, what would you say is your recommendation for people to reconnect with their friends and family, given that they would have had ups and downs and whatever, for whatever reasons? What do you think that they could do to get people they lost back into their lives. Not because of AI, but because of being human. You know, being human can make you lose your humans too. So,
Right, right. So you want me to answer this not with respect to AI and isn't it?
yes, it's not directly connected to your topic. Sorry.
Okay,
If you
okay.
think it's not relevant, we can skip it and connect later.
Okay, so see, yes, no, it definitely, I can tell you that, uh, of late, I keep telling my children also the same thing. Every generation has a varied set of interests, isn't it? For example, when I was young, maybe even you would have done the same thing. When I was young, when my mother was of my age and I was a little child, the only thing that fascinated me was reading books. Everywhere, anywhere I find a book. I mean, even if it was the minute, I picked a book, I would make sure that I finish the book and then only come out. So every generation has their own set of interests. So like that, probably the generation before that would have had a different set of interests, maybe more related to doing physical activities, isn't it? Nature or farming with parents, grandparents, or having these religious rituals where rituals and ceremonies and prayers were the only times when families met. They sat, they cooked together. So if you see that, that is the only thing or activity which makes us connect to each other, isn't it? I mean, books, of course, they take us to a different world, but the when we are in the midst of humans, when we are in the midst of company, so that is the most creative place where we bring out our true emotions, our feelings, anger, sadness, this, that, everything, all the possible emotions come out beautifully when we are in a human community. So I think, yes, no, I'm not touching upon AI aspects or the internet aspects, but even then, even otherwise, I think bringing back those old times, the activities of old. There was a story, you remember the stone soup? Such a beautiful story. So there is this stranger who comes into this village, and he just brings a piece of stone. He's hungry, so he doesn't have anything else to make a soup. Okay, so he just says that, I have the stone and I would make tasty soup with the stone. So he just puts the stone inside, fills up a vessel with water, and every person in that neighborhood starts bringing in carrots, radish, or beetroots, or whatever vegetables. So they, as a community, it becomes the most tastiest soup ever. So like that, to make our life more interesting, I think we should bring back those old traditional ways of connecting with community. Having, this itself is a wonderful thing. I should thank the internet for making this happen. See, all of us are sitting in different corners of the world, but then at least this 1 hour we are able to connect. We both are strangers, but still, see, from somewhere, Varsha and Sharada, we made a connect and we're talking about something which is close to our hearts, isn't it? So
Right. Yeah.
that's my answer. Thank you, Varsha. Thank you.
Thank you for
Barry?
asking.
Yes, I would just like to comment on something that you, Eric Miller, said before. And that is, I just want to affirm that I am not a bot, and I think it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous to suggest that there might be bots among us.
That's what all the bots say.
That was just a joke.
I know.
Yes.
What?
No, that was just a joke that, there could be bots. I mean, it was just a joke, that's all. Isn't it?
Yes. Regarding what we can do, I've just posted a link in the chat section to a little video called Mass Amnesia, which is about us forgetting ourselves. And the response that's suggested is at times we have to turn away from external stimulation. I know myself, at night I'll watch YouTube, I'll look around YouTube and the different things. But at a certain point, we should stop. We should, turn off the device or let the device go to sleep and just be with ourselves and write in our journals or just think in our minds. And in that way we can come back to ourselves. But I feel I'm often addicted, and many people are addicted to this endless external stimulation, which is available to us.
Yes. So what happens, I think most of us do this too. So when we are upset or, we don't have a favorable situation to come out of that, what we do, what did we do in earlier days? We probably went for a walk or a stroll, or we did something else. But today, each one of us, to get the incident off our heads, what do? We immediately start scrolling. We look at reels, and actually what it's doing is it's not doing good things to us. It's making it all the more worse. And actually we could continue this beautifully if we had time. I'm sure each one of us present today would have those little childhood memories, like Barry, Vicky, Eric, Lalitha, Ramya, Soorya, Lakshmi, all of us. Inviting all of you. Definitely each one of us, we sometimes, there are times when we don't realize that we are grown up. We are above 30 or 40 or 50. Yeah, the child inside us still remains somewhere, isn't it? So definitely, you all must have one or two incidents or stories which would have happened when you were a little child, isn't it? So I think today you should take time and recollect at least one or two incidents of your life that could have happened with your parents or your grandparents, something like that.
Okay, I have posted the link to our program in the chat section. If you click on that link, you'll see the names of today's storytellers, and in most cases, a link to their websites. So if you want to communicate with people afterwards, you can do it that way, or just send an email to me and ask for someone's email ID, and it can work that way. Okay, I feel we need to move on. Sharada, thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
Stories can be triggers for conversations, and this has certainly been the case.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ramya, are you there?
Yes, Eric, yes.
Wonderful. Okay, Ramya, you're going to tell a traditional story titled A Village Experience. Is that correct?
Yes.
A traditional story from here in Tamil Nadu. Okay, go ahead. Please introduce yourself fully and tell us about your work and the story, and please tell us a story.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. And I am Ramya Arivazhagan, and me and two of my friends, we have an initiative called Kadai Kadaya. And we have been in storytelling for maybe last 10 years. And then I've moved on to education from there. So now I'm running a learning center in a farm for children of 7 to 18 years. And we are just building a place where children could come and have the experience of the farm. So now I'm just reconnecting to stories when I started, reciting stories that could help them to learn new concepts or anything. So that's where the trigger came for me to come back. It's been a long time. I narrated a story in a group like this. So thank you so much, Eric, for this opportunity. And I would like to dedicate this story to all the children who are in our farm right now and then experiencing the childhood that we had. And I chose this story because I think it's also a part of me who came from a city setup, and then when we moved to the farm 3 years back. And this is exactly what I was going through. So that's going to be the story today. It's a story called A Village Experience, written by SVV, a Tamil author, and it's part of a collection of stories in a book that's in English named Greatest Tamil Stories Ever Told by Sujata Vijayaraghavan and Mini Krishnan. So, so let's go to the story. Um, yeah. So Kamala and Sundar, this couple have been living in an urban city for a very long time. One early morning, Kamala came to Sundar and then said, Sundar, please wake up. I have something very important to tell you. And Sundar was in half sleep and he couldn't know what she is going to tell in the morning. They're already in their 50s and he has retired last week and he is having fun at home. But Kamala was very restless and she started shouting, Sundar, I have very important thing to tell you. Can't you just wake up and listen to me for a few minutes? Sundar wake up and signaled for his morning coffee. Kamala came back with the coffee. And Sundar took the coffee and walked to the veranda in front of his house and sat there on a chair, took the newspaper and looking around the neighborhood, which was heavily like in a rush. Children were walking to school and people were having conversations about everything, and but they were all in a run, moving here and there. Sundar was wondering about something. Then Kamala came and said, You know, our daughters. Sundar, listen to me carefully. Kamala was irritated by them. You know, our daughter's mother in law's father, who was very sick last week, he died, and all of them had rushed to the village. Kirkutapakam. Sundar was hoping that Kamala would not ask him to go to that village. That was his only wish for this moment. But Kamala obviously said, Sundar, tomorrow we are going to the village in the first train. I know you will be restless, but we can come back in the evening train itself. Oh, said Sundar. But he was very upset. So he said, The old man, you should have been around 80 years, right? Said Sundar. Yeah, he has been 82, 83, said Kamala. Is it really necessary to go and share our condolences for an 80-year-old man's death, which is not even a sudden death, which we were all expecting every day? Was Sundar's question. Kamala gave a puzzled look and then she said, We are going, that's it. There is nothing else you can say. Sundar sat there for 10 minutes, thinking about all the experiences they had in the last few visits to meet his daughter whenever something like this happens. And he slowly went back to the kitchen and placed the tumbler and thought for a moment and he even tried to wash the tumbler and gave it nicely to Kamala and said, Kamala, if you need someone to accompany you or escort you to the village, why don't you take our maid's son? He would be really happy to come in the train. But please, let me take rest tomorrow. Kamala gave another look and said, No more talking. We are going in tomorrow's train, she said in a firm voice. Sundar is totally devastated, thinking everything else. He doesn't want to think about the village. The whole day went like this. And the next day morning, they were both on a train, the first train that starts from Egmore, and they reached the village. The station was almost devastated. There is nobody else except Kamala and Sundar. They got down from the train around 7:30 in the morning. They walked out of the station, looked around if they could get something to eat or drink. Nothing around. And then they could see only one horse cart called the Jupka. It was standing right there with an middle-aged man. Sundar walked to that guy and said, "Will you take us to the Kirkutapakam?" "Oh, that old man's house. I know, Sami. I will take you there. But I have one condition," said the Jutka driver. "That road. The village is 4 kilometers from here, Sami. But I will take you to 2 kilometers. After that, my cart will not go. You have to walk," said the Jutka driver. Cut and right. Sundar didn't like it. But Kamala said, "This is the only vehicle we have. Get in." So they both got into the Jutka. And it was a very bumpy ride. Sundar was almost like, "Oh my God, when will I reach the village?" So 2 kilometers came in first 20 minutes. So they got down and the Jutka driver said, "Sami, this is the road. If you go straight 2 kilometers, do you see the trees over there? That's the village." But Sundar could see that there are some cart marks on the road. So he turned to the driver and said, "You are cheating us, I know. See, there are wheels here and there. So your Jutka can go, right?" "Sami, I'm telling the truth. You will not understand what I'm saying, said the driver. "This is one horse cart. You need two bullock cart to go in this road. My horse cannot take this much luggage." So Sundar and Kamala felt as though they were said that they are the luggage he is going to carry. Sundar was almost fed up and he said, "Okay, take your 100 rupees and go," said Sundar. But the driver was very courteous. He called a young boy who was taking his cowherd back to the village and said, "Hey, Tambi, come here, come here. Take these people to the old man's house." So the boy didn't even speak a word. He started walking with his cowherd. Sundar and Kamala followed the boy. Sundar was talking about many things, all the experiences from the previous visits, but Kamala was not even listening. She was worried that her chappal is going to go. She was worried that how will she walk barefoot? But the next moment, it also happened. She had to leave her slippers and walk barefoot. After 15-20 minutes, Sundar was yelling and screaming, but Kamala was very silent and she just sat down on a corner of the road and took out a thorn. Sundar couldn't speak a word after that. He just walked. But the boy was turning here and there and going around and around. Both of them felt as though they were coming to the same place for many times. "It doesn't even feel like 2 kilometers," said Sundar. Kamala was speechless with the barefoot walking. And Sundar said, "I feel we will directly go to the old man only in its death's place to meet him to say our condolences. That's what will happen today," said Sundar. But finally, after 1 hour of walking, they just reached a road which leads to the old man's house. Sundar was talking very happily to Kamala, and Kamala just gave a look. And Sundar knew what this look meant, that he has to prepare for the condolence visit. He just put his head down and made his face as much sad as possible, even though he doesn't feel the sadness. And Kamala, she prepared herself, and the tears were just on the eyes. It never fell down, nor it stayed. It was full of water. The eyes were full of water. And they both walked, talking in a hustled voice, to the old man's house. The old man was the father in law of his daughter. So he was just sitting on the thinai in the village house. And his wife was standing near the door to their house. And when Sundar walked in, the old man started to cry. And then it was as though he lost someone very suddenly, was the reaction he was giving. Sundar was like trying to cope up with the sadness. And he was just giving few words as much as possible. He knew that if he could speak, then the things would worse. But Kamala, on the other side, she went straight to the old man's wife. She suddenly opened the gates of the flood from her eyes. Sundar was wondering where did she keep all this water till this time? And he felt as though she would get dehydrated in next moment. But women are so good in this. He was very much admiring his wife and her skills. And after 5-10 minutes, everybody was done with the condolences. So all the condolences has gone. Now everybody started talking general topics about politics, about cinema, about anything they did the last few days. And when there was a moment of silence, Sundar nicely requested the old man, Aya, we came all the way walking from there. Can you arrange a bullock cart for us? I have so much work at home tonight. So we will catch the 2:30 train. And he looked at the watch. It's almost 11:30 a.m. The old man said, You are our guests. So we will make sure the bullock cart could come at time. Sundar was really happy because Kamala need not walk barefoot. He need not walk back to the station. Then he said, Okay, let's go for the lunch, said the old man around 12 o'clock. And they all had a good lunch. By the end of the lunch, Sundar again reminded the old man, Aya, the bullock cart. Yeah, I remember. You don't worry. I will make sure that you are catching the train today, said the old man. But nothing happened. Sundar became restless around 12:30. He looked at his watch for few times. The old man understood. And then he said, Dey Amavasai, come here. Go and bring that Murugan. Oh, Amavasai is not going to get the card, thought Sundar in his mind. Amavasai went. Time is also going. Sundar was waiting and waiting. Nobody came back. It's almost 12:45. Sundar again raised from his seat to go to the old man and ask, Aya, the bullock cart. You don't worry, you will catch the train. Go and relax. You are our guest. Amma, give him some sweets, said the old man. Sundar is now very puzzled. He didn't know what to say next. And he looked at the watch again. It almost 1 p.m. And Amavasai didn't come. Whenever he opened his mouth, the old man said, Wait. Sundar is very worried now. Maybe we should walk, was his first thought. But he was also thinking, would it really look nice if I walk now when I ask for a bullock cart? So bullock cart are walking, but he couldn't say anything. He just sat there, choking on the thoughts that he had. But he's becoming more restless every moment. Amavasai came around 1:05 p.m. along with Murugan. And Murugan, just when he walked in, the old man started abusing him. Kenda, you lazy dog. You were strolling just like that from there. Huh? Our guest is waiting here. They have to go to the station to catch the train. You know that? Run, you donkey. Bring the 2 bullocks over the tree. Oh, the bullock cart didn't come, was a surprise for Sundar and Kamala. So only the man came and the bullocks are somewhere. Oh my God, was Sundar's reaction. The old man continued to the person. Find the cows, find the bullocks as soon as possible and bring them. And that moment something sparkled the old man. Wait. Come here. Just take a handful of hay because the cart has not been oiled for so long. Okay? Use the ashes to oil the cart wheels. After that, run and fetch the bullocks. It's getting late for the train. Do it all at once, said the old man. Sundar was hopeless by this time. He didn't know whether to laugh or to weep or what to do next. At that very moment, Kamala came outside, looked at her watch, and said, Isn't it getting late, Sundar? Sundar just gave a very ferocious look that Kamala could understand, and she just walked back and sat in the corner. There was a rage storming inside his mind, but he was able to mask everything, seeing his daughter's face. He couldn't decide whether he should walk out of the doorway without any saying anything or should he stay. It's almost 1:15 and the Murugan was still collecting the hay and trying to burn it into ashes. Finally, when he came back with the ashes, he said, I can't apply this, Aya, because somebody has to lift the cart. Only then I'll be able to apply this. The old man gave a huge sigh like this and then he said, Mataya, Mataya, you know these people are waiting to catch the 2:30 train, right? Doing everything at your own pace. Go to the threshold mill, bring someone, lift the cart, and then put the oil. Then go and bring the bullocks. So he went and came back in 5 minutes. 1:25 already. Sundar was just sitting at the edge of the seat as though he is watching a horror movie. Sundar is really agitated now. He just wanted to give a slap to Kamala, but he was just holding it on. Then Murugan came back and said, Aya, did you forget? Our bullocks have gone to the next field. Oh, isn't it? Said the old man. Okay, we will reach station in 15-20 minutes. Don't worry. Just go to that tree you see there. There will be another 2 bullocks. Get it there. Run, you donkey, said the old man. Murugan started running, but Sundar could see it is almost half a mile away. And he decided, would he catch the train or not is not a question now. He just have to sat there for his daughter's sake. Kamala came back at this very moment and said, it's already 1:45. Shouldn't we get moving? Said Kamala. And without saying a word, Sundar just gave a tight slap to Kamala and said, we still have time and we will get the cart. Go and wait there. But for Sundar, he knew they wouldn't catch the train. That's the story about the village experience. And this is exactly how I felt when I came from a city setup to a farm. When we worked with the workers, how do they do everything very sequentially and how slow compared to a city life where we do multitasking in many ways. So in villages, sometimes I feel the time just doesn't exist. They are so much in the moment and they just do the work. And I'm grateful to all these people who showed us this, very slowness of life, where you can just do one thing after the other.
So, was this story a personal experience of yours, or is it a story you made up, or what
No,
was it?
it's a story written by an author called SVV. So he has written many books, but some of his stories are so from the villages. So his full name is like Soravandan Varadarajan Venkatraman, and so somebody else has collected a list of Tamil stories in English, and that's how I came across this story. But then I found the other stories written by the author, which comes from real time experiences, which is like, you would only experience it when you go to a rural village and make sense of it. Especially when you go from a city setup and you try to, live a life there. And we are so much into time, right? So for for our minds it's like we just run behind the time for everything we do, and they are just so this is a story written by the author and translated also in English. It's available in English as well, but I could connect to it because I've been in that Sundar's place many times, waiting for people to finish things so that we can get things done. Yeah.
Vicky, then Susan.
You know, I really recognized the difference between country time and city time
Yeah.
because I have been in that situation of you have to be kidding me. We need to get moving. And nope, not until this happens. So I love that. But I like the story in that it's about the journey to grief and back. And we don't control it, you know? It's things happen and we just keep going and we do what we need to do and we allow things to unfold in their own time. So thank you. It was a charming story.
Susan?
I really enjoyed the story. It was very relatable, especially the etiquette. The etiquette in terms of, all of this kind of internal dialogue, I thought it was very, very well done. Very well done. I come from parents who had two different time zones in terms of how they operated and how they thought. And so there were parts of your story I found quite humorous. So very relatable. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been married to an Indian woman for 18 years, but I'm from New York City, and she's still not used to my New York City. Sometimes I'm in a rush, and
Yes.
I associate that with New York City culture, but I try to tone it down, but sometimes she doesn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, Ramya, it was wonderful acting. With the way you acted out the characters, the way they were talking to each other, it was very, very real.
Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Yeah.
Mhm.
And Harsha has written Malkudi Days. Yes, yeah. Malkudi Days is also my favorite.
Yeah, Rami, if you could write down the name of the story and the author, and either put it in the chat or send it to me, that will be helpful to me.
Yeah, I am just writing.
Okay, let's move on to our final storyteller, and that is Vicky. And Vicky, thank you so much for getting up before dawn there in California. You've been with us for the last 2 hours. So it means you must have begun about 4 in the morning. Anyway, thank you so much, Vicky. And now you're going to tell us a story that you have created called The Gift. Am I correct? All right. So please introduce yourself fully. Tell us about your work, and please tell us a story.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, first off, or good evening, whichever it is. There I am. Here in California, it's just a little after 7 o'clock in the morning, so the sun has come up. I've been a storyteller for 30 some years, and I create my own stories, and this is one of those, and I hope you enjoy it. Alma Tidy Bones was an average woman. That's what she thought she was anyway. She was just an average old woman. She had her pains and aches and her opinions. Yeah, but she was just an average old woman, and except there was something in her that was very special. That was a belief she had that every single human on earth had a gift to give, had something valuable to give the world, and it was their privilege and their right and their responsibility to give that gift before they die. And she had a gift. It was 35 acres of wild, wild woods that were just right outside of town. And she wanted to leave that to the people of the town because it looked like paradise to her, with its songbirds and hawks and its seasonal springs and foxes and deer and dappled sunlight. And so she wanted to leave it to her town. Well, the town she lived in was such a boring little town, such a nothing little town, that people tended to shrug their shoulders when they said the name of it. She lived in, anywho, California. And anywho was such a small town. There were only maybe 12 little buildings that straddled a skinny, scrawny little country road that went from over there somewhere to somewhere else. it was not important. It was a nothing little town, not important. But Alma Tidy Bones felt that giving 35 acres of wild, wild woods, paradise, was important because you see, all around the town was farmlands with their neat, orderly rows of crops that were beautiful, but there was not a tree in sight. For acres and miles around, nothing but rolling hills of crops. And she wanted to leave wild woods and nature to them. So she hand wrote out a will that when she died, those wild woods would go to the town, and they would approve of it and send it to the state, and the state would maybe make a state park out of it. So lots of people experience paradise. And that will she put in the mail, and it went to the city council. Now, the city council consisted of 3 very lazy people and 1 very greedy person. That greedy person, his name was Elias Grubb. And he had plans for that property. When he saw that she was just going to give it away, he thought, I know what I'll do. He took that will when it came in for mail and crunched it up and threw it in the trash. Instead, he went and wrote a letter to her and said, Dear Alma Tidy Bones, I would like to buy your property for $10,000. Well, he got a letter back from her that said, Dear Mr. Grubb, thank you so much, but no, I want to give a gift. You know, she's old, he thought. She's kind of dotty. She's getting a little wheezy in the head here. She doesn't understand. So he showed up at her door with shopping bags full of $1 bills, 10,000 of them. And he knocked on her door, and when she opened the door, he said, Look, Alma Tidy Bones, you're rich. You can have all this money if you just give me your property. And she said, Why, Mr. Grubb, I think I told you. I want to give that as a gift. So no, I don't want your money. So he went home. And you know, Elias Grubb belonged to a corporation, a developer corporation that was global and spanned the earth with its sticky fingers, picking up innocent properties and turning them for profit. Everything could be profit. And he thought these 35 acres could be profitable if he could only get his hands on them. So he sent the corporate lawyers to scare her to death. Old ladies get very scared. You know, they're tough. So on her doorstep showed up corporate lawyers, little weaselly people with shining fangs and glittery eyes. And they did their terrible weasel dance on her front door. And they pointed with their little weasel paws onto a piece of paper. All she had to do was sign right there, and they'd go away. Well, she slammed the door in their little weasel faces. Well, there was nothing much to do at this point, except sit back and wait for her to die. And you see, Alma Tidy Bones was not old. She was elderly. And there were only so many of these handwritten wills she was going to be able to send in to the council that he could just throw away. At some point, she was going to pass on. And she had no heirs. He looked it up in the census. And so that property, without a will, would go into probate. And if that happened, he could pick that property up for no money at all. All he had to do was sit and will her to die. Well, she was elderly, and she did die, but not before going outside and affixing herself to the side of the house like a barnacle on the hull of a ship. Thwack. And she determined not to leave until the state had her property for a park. And there she stayed on the side of the house. Well, the coroner came out and declared that she was dead. She was well and thoroughly dead. Yeah, but they couldn't get her off of the side of the house. They tried crowbars and all manner of things, and nope. Well, the Grim Reaper, that father of death, came down that night on his long, dark boat of sighs. That father of death that gathered the souls together. And he called to Alma and he said, Alma, you have passed on. You need to come on the boat with me and continue your journey. Come, Alma. And she looked at him and said, no, I want to give a gift and I'm going to give it. No. Well, there was nothing for Grandfather Death to do but to move on. Mother Nature, the mother of all of trees and earth and clouds and birds, roiled herself up and said, Alma, listen to me. That body that you are inhabiting, that was a loner. Okay, I loaned it to you when you were born, and when you die, you have to give that body back to me. It was a loner. Okay, when you're through, you have to give it back to me, and honey, you are through. Give me that body back. And she said, I don't think so. I have a gift to give. No. And she clung to the side of the house and didn't budge. Well, the story went around town, the little town of anywho. People were so proud of her. Why, she stood up to that Elias Grubb and said, no. Yes, she did. She stood up to corporate greed. Oh, my. Oh, she was a brave old woman. And they told stories that got more florid and more exciting as they told them. And as all good stories do, they sank into the ground that we walk on and went underground like the roots of bramble bushes and popped up in other cities and other counties and other countries. It turned out people all around the world wanted to hear about that stalwart old woman who said no to corporate greed. Well, Alma's spirit loved to travel with those stories. She went all around the world being introduced to people who loved to hear her story. From Iceland to Ireland, from South Africa, all the way up to Siberia. Oh, she loved meeting all the people who wanted to hear what she had done. But what was more exciting was common, everyday, nobody little Alma actually was invited to join the sisterhood of ancient old hags. Those old women of legend who nevertheless had great power. And so she went to have tea in the boneyard gardens of Baba Yaga in Russia. And then she went up to the northern countries, up to Norway, where she watched as Ilja, that ancient old crone, reduced the great god Thor to the ground. Oh my. Then she went down to the southern tip of Australia and watched as Walu, the great old mother of the universe, gave birth, as she did after every dark night, to a new day, painting the sky with oranges and pinks and yellows before sending her day forth. It was such a miracle to see. And she ran with the she-wolves, the ancient old she-wolves, over the Arabian sands with the Bedouin. And then she went up to the North Atlantic and stood on a craggy old rock and howled in all the winter storms and rains and winds with the Cailleach of Scotland. All these old crones, oh, they were amazing. But Alma, as old travelers do, got homesick. She wanted to go back to anywho. So she did. Her spirit wafted back. Yeah, but anywho was now called anywho. Because you see, everybody all around the world had ideas. They wanted to come visit where Alma Tidybones' body was stuck to the side of the house so they could get out their devices and take selfies of themselves with Alma Tidybones behind them, and they could check how many likes they got and how many ticks on their Instagram account. Well, now Alma Tidybones, when she came into town, noticed there was a Tidybones museum and a Tidybones bookstore, and when she got to her house, there was a plaque that said, "Welcome to the Alma Tidybones State Park." Somebody had found her will in the house, and it had gone to the state. She had won. But when she wafted in as thin as a breath of air, nobody was looking at paradise. They were looking in their devices to see how many people liked the pictures they posted of themselves with her body. No, she whispered to all of them, "Look around you, paradise is all around you. Look, all you have to do is look." Yeah, but they couldn't get their faces out of their devices. Well, once again, she had to make a decision, and that decision was to let her soul go. And so when Grandfather Death came by with his boat, his dark, long boat of sighs, and as he did every night, Alma Tidy Bones, please just get in the damn boat. He was surprised that she actually did. Why, she skipped like a schoolchild, jumped in the boat, and said, I'm ready for my journey. Oh my. Well, he pushed off the boat, and down the dark river of death they went. And without a soul, her body collapsed onto the ground, nothing but rotted flesh and old rags and bones, which Mother Nature roiled right up, gobbled up, and with just a burp said, about time, thank you, and disappeared back to all the other things she had to do. Well, with nothing to take pictures of, people had to put down their devices and look around them and hear the sounds and smell the smells and feel the air. And so it is, if you go to Anywho, California, and you happen to stop by the Alma Tidy Bones State Park, you will see people wandering under the dappled light of trees, dipping their hands in seasonal springs to feel the cold, listening to the hawk and the songbird, looking for fox and deer, amazed at the beauty of where they were right there. But then they would go back and listen to the state park ranger, because he would gather people around 2 or 3 times a day to tell the legend of the mighty, the legendary Alma Tidy Bones, who saved this place on earth. And she didn't do it by violence of warfare and anger. She didn't do it with the sticky-fingered greed of the rich and famous. Nope. She did it by feeling her character and feeling that she had a gift to give and she was going to give it. And by being able to just pull into herself and say no to death, no to Mother Nature, and even no to a particularly odious Elias grub. And by saying no, she said yes to generations of visitors to paradise in Anywho, California.
Okay, wonderful. Now, there are 18 of us in this session, but only 3 of us have our cameras on. If you can turn your camera on, please do for this final little discussion. Well, it seems by coincidence, almost all the stories tonight have been about the triumph of the human spirit. And I'm thinking that is a natural theme of storytelling. Because to get up and tell a story, that's a triumph of the human spirit in itself, without technology. Or
I think
in our case with video mediated, storytelling. But still, I'm sorry. Somebody else was about to speak.
I was just going to say, I think we need to remember that even if we feel like we are nobody and we are helpless to whatever political winds are blowing, you do have the ability to say no to something that you think is wrong and just stand on your own. You always have that.
You have to be careful because you might get in trouble, but
you can do it in the way that, you can do it in the way that you can do it. That doesn't mean, but as you can do something. Even if it's writing a letter, do it.
As you were telling, words from a Joni Mitchell song came to me. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. That's from Big Yellow Taxi, 1970.
Yeah.
I really appreciated how she went and visited a number of the fabled senior ladies around the world especially she had tea in the boneyard garden of Baba Yaga. And then who was it who reduced Thor? Was it?
Ilya.
Uh-huh. I don't know her story, but clearly she reduced Thor.
She wrestled him to the ground, and she was an old crone, but yeah.
Uh-huh. So she had a certain spiritual strength.
We have strength. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Any thoughts, comments, questions, observations? I like that term, the Alma Tidybone State Park, because that's a kind of a juxtaposition, a combination of herself as this little old lady, but then she managed to be institutionalized into a state park, which has to do with the state, the government. So
Yeah.
that was part of her triumph, that she affected the state.
She got to give her gift.
Mm-hmm. Susan?
I liked how you moved the story in the direction of getting people off the cell phone and looking around. Yeah, I think that's very, very applicable to this time. And I loved how she visited all the hags and had her gathering and everything. It's great. I loved that character you created.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So 20 years ago, and thereabouts, interest in computers and technology like that was considered the province of nerds. It was considered
Yes.
really antisocial. But things have changed because now with technology and the internet, we can use the technology to audio and video conference with each other. But still, there's still a special place for in-person communication. All right. Well, anyone want to say any final words before we hang up? All right, Vicky, thank you so much. Vicky, you're an excellent communicator. You have the communication gene, as I call it.
Thank you.
Yeah, because part of it is looking into the camera, but also it's an emotional, psychological quality that I'm sure I can speak for others and would say we all felt that you were talking to us individually.
Was. Yes.
Yeah.
True.
Some you can learn that, but I also consider it a gene, a quality that some people have more than others. We can all develop it, but it comes more naturally to some of us. All right. Well, wait.
Thank you so much. It was a lovely evening, wonderful stories. Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much.
Okay, now I'm going to stop the recording.